Welcome to episode 684 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. Josh, it's been so long I had to look at my notes to do that right.
I mean, I kind of always have to look at the notes, regardless of how long it's been. Yeah, we took last week off because, frankly, there was nothing to talk about.
No.
No, we didn't take last week off. I was here last week. You weren't.
Talked about gaming the entire time.
Yes.
So I'm really glad I took last week off.
Right. Richard actually could have done the show last week, everybody. And then I showed him the show notes, and he's like, nah.
Yeah, I don't think
let's
so.
Let's not do that. So... back with both of us. We're live streaming. We're doing the whole deal tonight. And we've got a pretty decent slate of news here for you. Roku has some new streaming sticks. Max is following their competitor's lead at curbing password sharing. There's a new wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay solution on the market. And Switch 2 pre-orders? Well, if you're listening live or like right after I drop this, if I get this tonight, you might have a chance at getting a Switch 2 pre-order. We'll talk about those details too. We also have some listener feedback to kick off the show with. These two messages sent to us at entertainment20 at thedigitalmediazone.com. So let's get right into the feedback. This first one is, it's really just directed at Richard. This is from Tim. He says, "Hey guys, Richard's discussion about his digital photo mess prompts me to strongly recommend Synology Photos. I've spent the last year or so organizing our photos into Synology Photos, including decades of old photos that I manually scanned. It's been amazing. The app gives you the ability to manually tag photos, which I've been doing with abandon. The iOS app even backs up our phone's photo rolls to the system, so all the photos from our phones are now automatically sucked into the system at full resolution," which already sounds pretty great. He says, "But the real power comes in the system's facial recognition. Once you tell it who all the faces belong to, the app does an amazing job of identifying people at all ages and stages of life. Here's an example of its usefulness. We recently had a death in the family, and we were asked to submit photos of the person for a photo collage at the wake. Within 2 minutes, I was sending a dozen amazing photos, all of which had been identified via the app's algorithm. Take care, and thanks for the information and laughs." Richard, you've got a Synology NAS, don't you?
I do, and it's interesting that he brings this up because I've looked at this app a number of times. I don't use it. I've tried some experiments with it. Part of the problem was that prior to the current version of the app, for some unknown reason, Synology split their photos management into two completely different apps that had different features for some reason. And they finally consolidated it all into one. Now, when I tell you one of the primary reasons why I don't use it, I'm going to pause for a little bit so that you can laugh, and then we'll go on. The app is designed to catalog all of your photos in a shared volume that you create on your Synology box that must be called photo. Small p, H-O-T-O.
Not photos, and not with the capital P. So you can only have one in there. That's your problem.
You cannot designate where your photos are. You can only have one, and it must be in their specific folder. And
that's a pretty lame reason not to use it, Richard.
Between my OCD and the fact that I already have a photos, big P, photos folder and volume already created with all this stuff, and everything else already points to that. I can't. I can't.
Can you make a symlink?
I don't know. I do not know. If there's any way around this and anyone has figured it out, I would love to know, because it is a pretty good app. And while, of course, other ecosystems support facial recognition of people and pets and stuff like that. In fact, Apple's system is really good for that. Google's been doing it for years and years. But my stuff's all over the place. And having it all in this one place would be amazing. So help me get over that hump. And helping me get over the hump isn't saying just deal with it, because that's not really how I do it. But yeah, maybe.
It sounds pretty great.
It is. I mean, they've done a really good job. It's available in an app. It's available as a web app that you can just use anywhere in your home. You can access it remotely. You can share stuff from it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion from Tim. And even if Richard won't make this happen for himself, hopefully some of our other listeners. One question. So just to be super clear for people who maybe don't know what we're talking about, maybe they don't know what Synology is. We know it because it's a really common home network attached storage device. This Synology Photos app, does it require you to have a Synology NAS? Do you know that?
It runs. Does. Yeah, absolutely. So it runs from it runs as a service or app on your Synology, and then their mobile app connects to that.
Okay. Well, cool. Great suggestion, Tim. All right, our last message is from Gary, and he says, I'm a long-time listener. I started listening to get information on Windows Media Center. Yeah, that does make you a long-time listener.
Me too, Gary. Me too.
Right. He says, first-time contributor. I have to let you guys know I love your podcast over the years. Of all the podcasts I've listened to before in this area, this is the only one I still listen to. It has the right amount of banter, review, and information combined for me. Thank you, Gary. On to his actual question. I'd like to ask which remote you recommend to replace a Logitech Harmony remote. Thank you in advance. Gary.
Yeah.
How many episodes have we had to and I don't say this to demean his question, because I'm sure he's heard them all. We've been talking about Logitech Harmony replacements for years and years and years, even before Logitech gave up on Harmony, because it was always just kind of a mid solution. And so we were always looking for better things. Richard, what's the better thing that you found?
Yeah, I haven't. That's right. The bottom line. And so many of you might not know this, but before I was writing for the DMZ, I had a blog of my own. And one of the things that I wrote about pretty frequently was that I would have reviews of remotes from Harmony that I bought at my local Best Buy. And sometimes I just bought them to review them, and then I'd return them. Not always, but sometimes I did that. And I had many, many reviews of the different old Harmony remotes. This is kind of pre-Harmony 1. Harmony 1 kind of changed the game for them. This was when they were really still focusing on a bunch of candy bar remotes. And they were always kind of top in their game for their price bracket. You know, of course, there's the high-end systems that require a back end and all that. But for what they were offering, they had the best solution. Now, a lot of those remotes, in fact, all of them that I wrote about way back in the day, are no longer supported. Harmony, or the Logitech team that supports Harmony, has said, we are no longer supporting these very old remotes anymore. And that put a lot of people in a world of hurt, because there's just not good options out there. We'll talk a little bit about some stuff that we've tried. Josh, both you and I have tried a couple different alternatives. Why don't you go first? Because I think, well, I think we both have similar thoughts on all of these, but you had tried the Sofa Baton, right?
Yes, the Sofa Baton X1, I believe it was. I ordered it on Kickstarter because this was like shortly after Harmony said we're going to keep supporting the Logitech Hub remotes, but maybe not forever. So I signed up for the Sofa Baton. I think it was the X1, which was the most similar device out there. It had its own little hub. It also had IR. It even had an LCD screen on it. It was terrible, and I hated it. It is sitting in a bin behind me, right back there. I don't know why, because I never get rid of things. That's why. It wasn't good. Sofa Baton has released updated remotes since then. I just have bet it. I don't know. It
left a bad taste.
It was that bad of a taste that
right.
I haven't really wanted to try any of the newer ones.
Right. Yeah. And I've tried 2 different remotes. One of them, I can never remember which brand is what. There's an app called Skip that supports, I think the remote is called Flirc, FLIRC, both really weird names. But this remote has pretty much come closest for me to letting me have a multi-device experience where everything didn't have to be input one, where I could have multiple inputs and it could handle that fairly well. It has something similar to the activity buttons, but it's not quite as robust as what you had from Harmony. This thing has been out for maybe, 5 years, something like that. Doesn't cost much. I think I paid $50 for it. They're still on a 0. something release of their software that hardly ever gets updated and is still buggy as heck, and it's hard to get any support from them. I'm pretty much convinced that this whole thing is supported by 1 or 2 people right now, if that, if it's even getting full-time attention from anyone. So in addition to the they're just not that good problem, you have the we just didn't sell enough to make a business out of it and we can't support them anymore problem. The other one that I've tried is the SwitchBot remote. Now, in all fairness to SwitchBot, I tried this right when it came out. It claimed to do all this stuff that it didn't do, including operating the core functions of an Apple TV. And then they came out with some updates that made it a little bit better, but still couldn't do basic things that you need to be able to do with pretty much any streaming box nowadays, like press and hold that center button for a menu to come up.
Right.
Wouldn't work. So also just a non-starter. I can't use something like that. My partner's going to kill me. I need something that's going to be easy to use. So the sad news is that we really haven't found anything that is as good at that same price point. Now, there are much higher end remotes like the Via remote and what I think that's the name of it, and others that have come out with more expensive solutions, but now you're talking over $1,000. And do you really want to be spending that?
Right.
I mean, I would argue no. You want to know my answer? My answer is if you have an old Harmony remote and you still like Harmony, find something that someone's selling on eBay that is still supported and consider switching to that for as long as Harmony will let it live. Because one thing that they've been pretty good about, I can't complain about them sunsetting 10-year-old remotes. I mean, come on, right? So they've been really good about continuing support and keeping the servers running for these old services and old apps that they stopped updating years ago, but they still work.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
At home, I am only using the Apple TV remote because we're down to one device except for when I turn the Xbox on, which requires some dusting every time I do it anyway.
But you're only using as your 4K Blu-ray player.
Right. And then at my office, in my office, I use Google TV, and I can do all of that through HDMI CEC just with the TV's own remote, with a Samsung remote, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then finally at the beach, at a rental place, I have a Harmony. I bought multiple Harmony companions as soon as they canceled them. And so I have one down there. I have one at home that I haven't set up, and I have a backup down there in case that one dies.
Yeah. I feel like this is only really a problem for people with AV receivers because HDMI CEC is probably what you're using if you've got a soundbar, and it's probably good enough and doesn't require you to do anything crazy to control the volume. And so for me, like I'm using HDMI CEC to connect to a device called the SoundStream. That's a WiSA wireless audio thing that I then have sending out to WiSA enabled speakers. But I mean, it's easiest to just think of it like a soundbar. And then our main device is the on Google TV 4K plus, whatever the heck they call that thing. Pro is the word I was looking for, not plus. And that is what everybody in my house uses. Now there's a couple of game consoles hooked up to that TV also, but the on remote has an extra button on it that you can map to other things, including the input button on the TV. So I can turn the TV on with the power button on the on remote. I can control volume through it, and I can switch inputs to my Xbox and PlayStation and Switch through the extra button on the on remote, and everything just works fine. If you have a more complicated setup like an AV receiver, or if you're really trying to go, all in with full home automation and you're trying to close blinds and turn on lights to different effects and all of that stuff, that's where you're going to need one of these more complicated solutions. And there's not great options. Like, look at the Sofa Baton, I guess, because it has most of those integrations for you that might work. But there's a new version. It's the X1S. I didn't try it. Maybe it's a lot better. But yeah.
Just make sure you put it through its paces during your return period.
Right. Simplification was the answer for me. That's what I'm trying to get at. Like, if you can control audio through HDMI CEC and you don't have to press another button to turn the audio control stuff on like you would with an AVR, then maybe you don't need a universal remote anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I think so. It's interesting that you mentioned the AVR, the AV receiver, as the problem, because I don't see that as the problem. Even HDMI CEC through a receiver can work pretty well. It's when you have more than one input that creates a problem, because now you have devices competing for attention. And depending on how your AVR works, it could automatically switch to the one that it thinks is active. And that could potentially cause you some problems. I see that every once in a while down at the rental place.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm using a universal remote, I do rely on HDMI CEC stuff just because it's the easiest way to do it. And it's generally more reliable as long as there's not another device plugged in.
Yeah. But even in that case, you might be better off not plugging. I don't know. I guess you can't, can you? Could you plug all of your streaming devices into your TV and essentially be treating that AVR like a soundbar so that you're not using the AVR for the device switching?
Well, I could if the builder hadn't mounted a 70-inch TV in a 71-inch cubby, therefore completely preventing anyone from actually getting to any port on the TV. Yeah. Okay. So I think those are your real options, is simplification. When we started this show 15 years ago, more than that, sound bars were terrible. We would never recommend a sound bar. Now there are better sound bars out there.
And unless you're actually in a home theater, like you're probably not going to be getting the absolute best high quality, like perfect arrangement of all of your speakers and all of that, because you're not in an enclosed box.
That is true, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy having Atmos from a receiver in the places where I have had or do have it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I don't disagree with you. I just think it's not that easy to just say, oh, give up your receiver.
No, and I'm not trying to say that it is, but there are full Atmos soundbar type systems also, including with remote speakers that you can install. So there are options, is all I'm really saying. You're not, 10 years ago, your only option for good audio was discrete speakers through an AVR, and that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah, fair.
The audiophiles will disagree with me, but I don't care. Okay, well, some really great listener feedback. Let's jump into the news this week, Richard, and let's start with Roku, which I believe is still the number one streaming platform. Is platform probably the right word?
Question mark? Yeah,
in terms of usage, I'm pretty sure Roku is still number one, above Apple TV, above Google, above Amazon.
Yeah, somehow. I still don't understand how, but yes, it is.
Yeah. So they have a couple of new devices. They almost simplified their lineup, but not exactly. So the two new streaming sticks. The first one is the Roku Streaming Stick. That's a good name. And then the other one is the Roku Streaming Stick Plus. The main difference between these is the output resolution. The base one, it is the bottom of the line base model. The Roku Streaming Stick only does HD. And if you look at kind of their weird wording on the site, it almost makes it sound like it's actually doing 720p and then just upscaling to 1080p, which, wow. But it's $30 and it includes a voice remote, which is kind of unheard of for $30. So
right.
that is impressive. If you don't have a 4K TV, like probably just get this. The other one is the Roku Streaming Stick Plus. And this one does 4K with HDR. It has that same voice remote. These are both just dongles that are thinner and shouldn't block access to other HDMI ports.
Oh, geez. I mean, they're like USB thumb drive small.
Yeah. Well, they're way longer than a thumb drive, but they're very narrow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is great. Like that is a really nice thing to see. And I know what you might be thinking. Okay, so this must replace the Roku Streaming Stick 4K? No, my friend, it does not. The Roku Streaming Stick 4K still exists. The difference between this device and the 4K, well, this one does 4K and HDR, but it only does HDR10. It doesn't do Dolby Vision. It also has a less good Wi-Fi chip in it. Because they don't want to like overload you with different Wi-Fi terms, they're like, they basically just say, yeah, the streaming stick 4K has Wi-Fi that'll work at any place in your house. It's just better Wi-Fi chips inside of the 4K. So if you have a 4K TV that's from Samsung, this is probably still a good pick for you because you don't care about Dolby Vision if you have a Samsung TV because they don't have Dolby Vision. And this thing is only $40, whereas the streaming stick 4K is $50. So really great prices, really great form factor here. They're powered via USB, which means your TV might output enough power through its USB port to power these things without you needing to run another wall wart to your wall somewhere. So those are all good. The one kind of downside, because I was like, I should just buy this. I've been thinking of getting a new streaming device for connecting to the monitor above my treadmill. I should just get this, and then I'll have a Roku device to test things on. Neither of these actually, none of the three devices that we've talked about, including these two new ones, support Bluetooth audio. You cannot hook Bluetooth headphones up to these devices. The only Roku device that supports Bluetooth headphones is the Roku Ultra for $100, which seems
kind of weird.
Weird. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I think this is a nice offering. Roku has always been confusing to me because they had so many SKUs. It seems like this is simplifying that a little bit and bringing it down to something that's a little bit more manageable. I like that they're USB powered. I think most TVs are still only doing, what is it, like 5 volts or no, 12 volt, but 5, I don't
think it's
know.
2 volts and 5 amps. Is that right?
I don't know. Well, whatever it is, it's often not enough for streaming devices. But if this is optimized to work with what most TVs are offering, that's great because, yeah, one less thing to have to plug in. Also, by the way, whatever happened to the HDMI ports that had power too? That was supposed to be a thing, wasn't it?
It was. I don't know what happened to that standard.
Like, I don't see it anywhere anymore.
No.
And that sure would make life a whole lot easier for all of these dongles.
Yeah, that would be great.
I don't get it. But yeah, nice refresh. I don't know if you said it or not, but the 2 sticks are available for pre-order now, and they're shipping on May 6th.
Yep. So
which
right
is
around the corner. It's like next
soon.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's weird between the Plus and the 4K. Like they both do 4K. I think that's going to be confusing to people. I guess save yourself $10 if your TV doesn't support Dolby Vision. But if you need better Wi-Fi, because none of these have Ethernet, they are Wi-Fi only. Should probably point that out. It's only Wi-Fi. So, okay. So that's the new Roku devices. Let's switch to streaming services. Let's talk about Max. Max, like many of the other streaming services out there, really wants you to stop sharing your password with people. That's against the terms and conditions, by the way, in case you didn't know that. You're not supposed to be doing that. So they are doing something to incentivize you to do the right thing. They didn't come up with this idea on their own. They're copying from Netflix and some of their other competitors, but they're doing the right thing here. They're making it so that you can pay to have an extra account on your Max subscription. So for $8 a month, you can have a second username and password connected to your account that is completely separate and is meant to be used by someone who doesn't live in your house. So if your parents live somewhere else and want to share your Max account without sharing your username and password, they can do that for $8 a month, which is less than buying their own subscription. The cheapest Max subscription tier is $10 a month, so this does save you money. This works with any tier of Max's service, so and it's the same price. It's always $8 to add on. The really, really, really nice thing that they're doing here, again, they copied this from Netflix, but I think it's super smart. If you've been password sharing with people, they probably at least have their own profile set up on your Max account. You can say, I'm adding a new account, make it this person's profile, so they still keep all of their viewing history and all of the data that they've been feeding to the Max algorithm. So that makes it really, really handy for them. But you might be wondering, what if I've got multiple freeloaders that need their own accounts? Well, sorry, you can only add one account to your account. So if you've got multiple freeloaders, one of them is going to have to pony up for their own full Max subscription at this point. Now, are there any real limitations to this sub account? There's only one. Like everything works about Max with the sub account, except for one thing. Regardless of the plan that you have, the sub account can only stream one thing at a time. Doesn't matter what plan you've got. They can only watch on one device at a time, even if you've got a plan that enables you to stream on a whole bunch of devices at the same time. So there you go. Like I don't have anything bad to say about this. I think it's the right strategy for these streamers to be employing.
Yeah, I always think of this use case as your kids going to college, but I'm a little bit thrown off by the idea that you can only have one extra user because kid two, sorry, if there's overlap and while they're away, they don't get max. But yeah. The other thing that's notable is that it seems like one of the table stakes offerings for this capability is now being able to take an existing profile that you already have and moving it over to this type of account, right? So you're not losing your history and everything that it knows about your preferences and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does that. And I think that's the
Yep.
most important thing about this. So,
Yep.
yeah. One other little detail, if you have Max through a bundle, which is probably more common than it used to be because it seems like I just keep seeing more and more bundles that include Max now. If you're getting Max through a bundle, for some strange reason, you can't add a sub account right now. I wouldn't be surprised if that changes in the future. It's probably just a hassle of the billing system. You know, if you're paying Verizon for your bundle, they probably don't have a way to deal with this yet. I imagine they'll get there though, but don't hold me to it because I don't own Max. I'm not that efficient.
And I guess probably people who get Max for free from promotions that don't exist anymore probably wouldn't qualify for this either.
Probably not. Yeah, if you're still somehow getting Max for free, don't rock the boat. You don't want them discovering that you're still getting it for free.
Just asking for a friend.
Right. Yeah, you super grandfathered AT&T plan holders, just stay quiet and enjoy your free Max.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One more topic, real short one here. We've talked about the Google TV streamer a fair amount in the past. When Google launched this last year, we were very excited. It looks like a top-notch Google TV streaming device for $100. But $100 is kind of a lot to pay for a streamer. Well, for the first time ever, it's officially on sale. And the sale price drops $20 off of it, so you can get it for $79.99. You can pretty much get it anywhere for this price. We'll have a link in the show notes to Amazon because, you know, if you click on our Amazon affiliate links, it doesn't charge you anything extra and we get a little bit of a cut. So it's the easiest way you can support us. But, you know, if you really want to get it from Best Buy or straight from Google, it's the same price everywhere. But don't we buy everything from Amazon? Maybe not. There's a lot of people who are boycotting Amazon at this point.
I don't.
Yes.
And let me tell you, it's a pain.
Right. Yeah, we have really gotten used to Amazon around here. Yeah. So Google TV streamer for $20 off. I might just need to pull the trigger on this one. And maybe if my on Google TV 4K Pro supports Bluetooth streaming, maybe I'll move that down to the treadmill and get this Google TV streamer, put it in the living room on the OLED.
There you go. Yeah, this is tempting primarily because we use my Chromecast with Google TV down at the rental property when we're down there, and it's laggy. It's showing its age. It'd be nice to have something that's a little bit more zippy.
Yeah.
And it's a good price.
Yeah, it's not bad. Doesn't that make it literally half the cost of an Apple TV? Why do I have it in my head that Apple TV is $160?
Yeah, I think the Apple TV is more than that these days.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch to audio, I guess. Mobile audio. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We love them. Frankly, I can't imagine having a car that doesn't have those technologies anymore. I saw Richard in person a couple weeks ago. I rented a car to do that. I got a Volvo that I could not make Android Auto work in. I don't get it. It was a frustrating weekend of driving because of it. I really, really rely on my Android Auto nowadays.
Yeah.
But a lot of cars still only have wired Android Auto or CarPlay. And there are benefits to that, you know, the biggest one being charging your phone. But I don't always want or need that. I would much rather just have this all work wirelessly and not have to pull my phone out of my pocket at all when I'm driving. And so in my car, I have a wireless Android Auto dongle, and it's not even really a dongle. It is a little square box with its own short USB cable plugged in to the USB port. And then you've got to find a place to stick this, and it's kind of a hassle and it's ugly. And mine is also kind of slow to connect. Well, there's a new solution out here, and it's called the AutoCast, but it's not spelled the way you think. It's spelled OTTOCAST.
Of course it is.
Right. And it solves the problem of having like an extra box with its own cable and all of that, because it is a tiny little dongle, and it is just the dongle. You don't have to run a cable and all of that. It's got a USB-A plug on it. Most cars, I think, are still using USB-A for this. But if your car does have USB-C, it comes with a USB-C adapter thingy. But that does make this a little less practical because it's sticking out even further if you're using something like that. But it's got everything that you would be looking for with something like this. It supports both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and it has a button on it that you can so that you can pair two phones to this device. So if you and your spouse share a vehicle, then you can just push a button to switch whose car or whose phone is connected to the head unit. All of that sounds great. The price is also great. It is $59.99 right now. It's available from their website. It's available from Amazon. I'm very interested in this, but I've never heard of this company before. So I don't know yet. I think I'm going to hold off and wait to see reviews. If it actually is good, and especially if people say that it's faster than some of the other devices out there to connect, then I might just drop the $60 and get this. But I want to make sure it's actually good first.
Yeah. And now keep in mind, this isn't going to add Android Auto or Apple CarPlay if you don't already have it in your vehicle. What this is doing is it is somehow, and I swear this is like witchcraft, making your a connection work through Bluetooth or some sort of connection.
It's Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
Without having the physical wire connected. I had a device similar to this in my Volvo because the Volvo I had did not support wireless connections. And every once in a while it was a little bit buggy, but it was largely pretty good. And I can't imagine not having the wire. That's such an obnoxious thing to say, but I seriously can't imagine going back to wired CarPlay because this is just so convenient. It's just still in your pocket. You don't have to connect it. You don't have to do anything. It just works. You get in the car and it just works.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Hopefully this is that good. And $60, not a bad price. If it doesn't work well, if you don't like it, again, return window.
Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah. Because this price, it is cheaper than the other options out there. Most of the other ones that have launched have been $80, $100.
I paid over $100 for the one that I had.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty common. So it's nice to see that lower price, but also you get a little bit nervous when you see a low price item from a company you've never heard of before. So I'm going to hold out, wait and see what the reviews look like. Maybe as a podcaster, I should buy it and give it a review, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay. One quick gaming story. And this one, well, unless you're listening right away, this might not be the best news for you. The last time we talked about the Nintendo Switch 2, we said, well, yeah, they were going to do pre-orders, and then they paused the pre-order window when all of the Trump tariffs went into play, and they were like, we need to reevaluate some things because this device might get a whole lot more expensive for all of you people in the United States. Well, they've made up their mind. They've announced a new window for pre-orders to happen in the United States. It is midnight, April 24th, which that means midnight at the start of April 24th. So
that's 3.5 hours from right now, Josh.
Exactly. So I better get this podcast up in a hurry if this is going to be helpful to anybody. So there's a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. The good news is, of course, it's still happening and it's still launching in early June. The other good news is the Switch itself not changing in price. It's still switched to $449. If you want the bundle with Mario Kart, which of course you do, just do this. It is $499. That stays the same. What is changing is the cost of a bunch of the accessories. The Joy-Cons, they're going up by $5. It's now going to be $95 to get another set of Joy-Cons for your Switch. If you want a Pro controller, that's going up $5 to $85. The camera's going up by $5. A lot of the accessories are going up in price, but the console itself is staying the same. May the odds be ever in your favor trying to get one of these if you're trying to get one at launch. Good luck. It's going to be very challenging, I'm sure. So,
yep.
Yeah. I will not be rushing to get one of these. I just can't it would be a $500 Mario Kart player, and I don't need $500 with Mario Kart in my life. So not going to happen right now. Okay, that is it for our news this week. Richard, let's talk about what's been going on in our entertainment centers.
All right, it's been a couple of weeks, so I'm going to try and plow through this pretty quickly. So I finished rewatching the first season of Severance and started season 2. I have a long way to go on that. I think it's over now.
Oh yeah, it's over.
Yeah, so I'm like 2 episodes in. No, yeah. Anyway, I have a lot to go. Last of Us season 2 has started. I'm caught up on that. The final season of Mythic Quest season 4 been announced that they have ended it, had a cliffhanger. So they re-released the last episode of Mythic Quest without the cliffhanger. I have not seen the re-released episode. I don't know how they reworked it, but I'm really annoyed that they rewrote history. They got rid of the originally released version, and now the only thing that you can go see is the revised version of the season now series finale.
I can't think of a single example of a show ever doing this before.
Nope. Weirdest way to handle that ever. Also finished season 3 of The White Lotus. That show is so brilliant. Really clever ending. It has a season 4 coming up. I can't wait. I don't even think that the showrunner has decided what he's doing yet, like where it's going to be located. But they've already greenlit a 4th season, so I'm excited for that. Been watching The Amazing Race, Abbott Elementary, Ghosts, The Voice. We watched 2 movies over the course of the last few weeks. One was the Apple TV Plus movie called The Gorge. This is like a sci-fi, spy-ish kind of film, and we really enjoyed it.
Did you? I've been thinking about this movie.
We really enjoyed it. It was definitely worth the time. I don't know if it was an hour and a half or 2 hours, but it was definitely worth the investment in time. So, if you like Cold War spy-ish stuff and you like sci-fi, this is an interesting and good combination of those things.
Yeah, it sounds right up my alley. And it's on Apple TV. So if you already have Apple TV Plus,
yep,
you've got this.
Also, rewatched the movie Godzilla King of Monsters. I believe that is the most recent of the Godzilla films, not counting the most recent Kong film. It's good. We like the Godzilla films, and this is just as good as any of the others. If you like that whole lore, is that the right word? That franchise, I guess, is the better way of putting it.
You're not really hyping this up, which leads me to wonder why you rewatched it.
Well, we like these, and I know that a lot of people look at these like, really, that's such trash, but we do like them. And in fact, there's a series based on the big evil, are they evil? You don't really know, organization Monarch that's represented in these films. There's an Apple TV Plus series. The first season was really good. There was supposed to be a second season, but I haven't heard anything about that yet. So I don't know if it's really coming out or not. I hope it does, because that was fun. And then as far as what I'm reading, I'm still listening to the 99% Invisible City as our book for work. And I have another new podcast recommendation. The folks behind Daily Tech News Show and Daily Tech Headings, or Daily Tech Headlines, now have a new quick 5-minute daily show called Daily Music Headlines. And I initially thought about this and thought, well, is this really my thing? I don't know. I'm not that big. And then I started listening to it, and it reminds me of when I was a kid. I was like a big follower of the Billboard charts. Like, I was always interested in what news is Billboard reporting. I used to go and buy the Billboard magazine every Friday when it came out, and I just followed all of that stuff. This is that kind of news rolled up into a 5-minute daily podcast, and I am really enjoying it. So if that is your kind of thing, check it out. And if it's not, give it, if you're not sure, give it a try. If you don't like it, great. But I ended up kind of liking this against my own initial intentions, because I didn't think this would be my thing.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah. That's it for me. How about you, Josh?
I do like me a 5-minute daily podcast.
Right? Exactly. Now, I granted, that's 5 minutes with 3.5 minutes of anchor ads, but that's the world we live in now.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna ask the split of ads to content, but yeah. All right. Well, on my side, the gaming side, a little bit more Borderlands 3. I think people are going to be a little bit more interested in the fact that I just last night finished playing The Last of Us Part 2.
Yay!
Yeah, so I am finally ready to start watching the show. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to. If I'm going to start right away. Man, this Severance 2 really showed me that waiting a week between every single episode, that's rough, man.
Totally different kind of show, Josh. Severance is a slow slog and a slow burn, and waiting each week for another slow thing. With The Last of Us, you need time to recuperate between episodes. Those things are exhausting.
That's true. That's a good point. Maybe I should just start it. Okay.
And after this last episode, I'm telling you, you need time to recuperate.
Yeah, having played the game, I think I know what happens in episode 2. I could see that. Yeah. And I won't say anything else because we don't do spoilers around here. But yeah, that game. I mean, and I'm sure the show will be the same way, because they did such a good job of keeping so many things the same for the first game in the first season of the TV show. There are some themes that it kind of beats you over the head with over and over again throughout it, but there's still some really good stuff to make you think. And none of it is easy. None of it is easy. But it ends interestingly, and that's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Cool.
So I'll be watching it soon, and you and I can start talking about it. Not while we're recording live, though, because we don't do that.
Nope.
So in my movies, no movies that I've watched lately. TV, a little bit of For All Mankind on the treadmill. That might be, I don't know. I like that show. I would like to keep watching it. But watching things on the treadmill is primarily how I've been keeping up with all of these shows. That's going to be coming to an end. My half marathon is Sunday, and we're finally getting to springtime where it's a little bit more enjoyable to run outside. So I might not be on my treadmill as much. So we'll see if I can keep For All Mankind going. But it is good.
Where are you? Are you still in season 2?
Yes. I'm still pretty early in season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm only 2 episodes into season 2. And there's 4 seasons, I think. So I got a lot to go. But it's also the most wonderful time of the year. No, Christmas is not the most wonderful time of the year. The Stanley Cup playoffs are the most wonderful time of the year.
I thought you meant hockey season, which is what, 9 months out of the year?
It is October into June. I'm not going to do the math on that, but yes, roughly
9 months out of the year.
Good. I would love it if it was 12. It's an amazing sport. My Penguins are not in it. That's okay. There's still a lot. It's not okay. I hate what has happened to this team, but there is a lot of really good hockey being played right now. So once again, I have signed up for Sling TV to have access to ESPN. The really nice thing is Sling Orange is, because Sling has orange and blue, or Sling Orange plus blue. And Orange has the ABC Disney type channels, so ESPN, and Blue has like Fox and some of that other stuff. Fortunately, Orange also includes TNT, and TNT is the other channel that has some of these games on them. Previously, I've been able to watch everything that was on TNT on Max, but as we reported a couple of weeks ago on this show, Max is no longer including sports if you are on the ad-supported plan. I'm on the ad-supported plan, therefore I couldn't use Max to watch these games anymore. So for, I don't remember, $45 I think I'm paying for Sling Orange, I can watch the games that are on TNT and ESPN. So that is your cheapest way of watching the Stanley Cup playoffs right now for, if you want to be doing it legally, which you should. So Sling Orange for that. And I do have a book that I'm reading. I haven't decided if it's a recommendation yet. It is called The Fourth Turning is Here. This is nonfiction by a guy by the name of Neil Howe. I don't know what is he a sociologist? Is he a professor? I'm not sure what he is, but he came up with this theory a while ago about that world societies basically operate in these repeating patterns that have 4 segments to them. And I don't remember them all off the top of my head. I haven't listened to the book in a few days. But it's these recycling patterns, with the 4th part of that pattern being a crisis era. And the theory that this book is espousing is that we are currently in that crisis era. This isn't just political. This isn't about Trump. He's saying that it basically started with the 2008 financial collapse, and that these crisis eras tend to last 10 to 15 years. And so if you're constantly stressed out about the state of our country right now, well, hey, good news. Like maybe it's only another 5-ish years.
We're almost done, hopefully.
Right. So it's been an interesting read. It is long and dense. This is a 20-hour audiobook talking about these theories and lots of examples throughout history, and not even just in the US. It's a lot, which is why I'm not necessarily suggesting it yet. I want to get a little bit further into it. But if that sounds interesting, it's called The Fourth Turning is Here. And the title makes a lot more sense once you actually read it. Okay. Well, that's it for what's going on in my entertainment center. And that means that's it for the show, basically. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, we're on social media. Josh Pollard on Twitter and Blue Sky and Mastodon. Richard is primarily on Mastodon. Richard Gunther, he's also on Blue Sky, richardgunther.com. The website is still only on Twitter. Maybe I should make a Blue Sky account. I don't know. At DigiMediaZone on Twitter. And, we're doing the show live. Sometimes follow us, follow me on Blue Sky and you'll know for sure there. Or if you show up for a show, you can just subscribe to us on Twitch and it'll also notify you when we're doing the show live. Now that my marathon training is almost over, we might move the show back to Tuesdays, which might just mean that we lie to ourselves about doing the show on Tuesdays and still record it on Wednesdays. We'll see. But that's going to do it for episode 684. He's Richard Gunther and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.